Ken Glover Drug is your community health mart pharmacy. Our friendly professional staff will be glad to answer your questions and to help you with your medications. We offer a full line of medical equipment and diabetic supplies. We accept most insurance plans, and for faster refills, you can visit us online. For pharmacy, medical equipment, gifts, and more, visit Ken Glover Drug Health Mart Pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Welcome back to Coffee Time. Get you another cup of coffee. Enjoy the rest of Coffee Time today. Thursday morning be Danny Cain, Walker County Extension Office. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. It's great to be here this morning.
Good to have you with us here on this good Thursday morning.
Wonderful to be here.
A lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on, and I tell you, we're cruising right on through April. April's almost past us
1 week
now,
away, and we're going to the great month of May.
This year has flown by. It didn't seem like that long ago we were talking about Christmas, and then,
we were talking about school starting. Now we're talking about school ending. School's
fixing to end, and summer is right around the corner, and all kind of stuff going on. But,
goodness gracious.
We're staying busy at the office. We're right in the kind of the ending phase or the end of the project time for our swine or our pig project, which we call Pig Squeal. So we've had our 4-H kids, each one of them got 2 feeder pigs to raise out, and
good deal.
So here in just a couple weeks, excuse me, they'll be having now the 4-H pig hog show is. And that will be over in Fayette at their facility over there, and so they'll also be auctioning off some hogs, and they'll have spec sheets there for processing, and so all kind of stuff going on with that. We've got we're anticipating here in a couple 2 to 3 weeks now the arrival of our chick chain chicks for the year.
In the mail.
That comes usually in about the second week of May, and so we've got kids lined up and families waiting, and we had our production meeting the other night and had a lot of great questions about raising backyard poultry and and egg production and all those kind of things that goes with that, and excited about that. And summer camp slots are all filled up.
Got them all done. We had a few left over.
We filled our, at least for right now anyway, we filled our slots. However, if you didn't get in and you still have a desire to go to summer camp, we do have a wait list. In other words, if we have somebody that drops out, we will pick somebody up on the wait list. We take those on a first come, first serve. If you're the first one to call in, you're first one on the list, and
good deal.
That's the way we handle that. So, and usually every year we have 1 or 2 that gets close to camp time, and for whatever the reason, we're traveling or just things happen, it can't go, and so we'll pull that wait list out and we'll get those slots filled right back up. But so if you are interested in your 4-H or going to 4-H summer camp in June, then you need to get in touch with us and get on the wait list. And if we can't get you in this year, we'll certainly get you in for next year's summer camp. But a lot of other stuff going on, and getting a lot of. I'm busy working with our forestry judging team. Fact is, yesterday afternoon we were out over at the Eagle Point Park, or what I call the dog park.
Right.
We were measuring trees and doing compass and pacing and timber cruising, and we're starting to learn a little bit of tree identification now. And so
I can remember in my National Guard days going out to the compass course.
That's right.
Trying to get to that next site.
And we do. And you're probably very familiar with topographic maps.
That's
and
right.
We have 10, 11-year-old kids reading and interpreting topographic maps, changes in elevation and distances, and bearing readings from your compass or azimuth, we call it on the topo map, and all those kind of things. A lot of stuff going on with forestry, and those kids to me are just amazing. I remember as a kid myself, and my dad and I would be down in the pasture working. We had some woodlands there, borderline our pasture, and he would point out a few trees. You know, that's a yellow poplar or that's a sweet gum. And I just thought that was really the coolest thing to know a little bit about the trees that were growing there. And so we teach, you know, our forestry judging kids have to learn to identify about 60 species of trees.
And you're talking 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
Our juniors are age, get this now, our juniors are age 9 to 13.
Oh,
and our seniors are age 14
Identifying
and over.
60 trees.
And for our senior team, the senior winning team at our state competition represents Alabama at the national contest, and there is something like 150 tree species that they have to work with and learn how to identify. And
I can tell you it's an oak, and I can tell you it's a pine.
and anything beyond that, ask one of our 4-H kids, and they'll tell you. And because we've got some of those kids out there that quite frankly are better than I am at it, and so that's what it's all about. And
good deal.
Also working with our wildlife judging teams, and those guys will be going to competition here real soon. Their contest is actually the end of May this year, and so a little bit early for us. So we've really been pushing those guys hard, learning you know, all about wildlife and habitats and how to improve habitats and things like that. And we've been busy learning how to actually write an on-paper written management plan for some of our species, and so that's all up and coming. We have fun with all of that, and it's part of what makes our job,
Sure.
you know, just so much fun is getting to work with these young people, these kids. And
you got a big fish pond workshop.
we do. Lest we leave people thinking you only work with kids. We don't just work with kids. You know, sometimes we work with the big kids.
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
And so we do have one of the things that I get questions about all year long, other than you know, what's eating the leaves on my roses, and you know, when do you prune the azaleas and that kind of thing, is home recreational fish ponds. And by these I'm, you know, what I grew up calling the farm pond. You know, every farm had a pond back there that served as a fishing hole and a cattle watering hole.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
right.
And it was
That's
dual purpose. And but you know, and so now, but there's still a lot of small home recreational fish ponds out there, and by these, you know, we're talking about you know, anything from a half acre up to a couple of acres in size, and usually, you know, impounded, and by that I mean it's not on a flowable creek or anything like that. They're standalone dug type ponds.
Most of the time depend on rainwater just
Most
to fill
of the
them up.
time they depend on rainwater in the watershed, you know, that feeds, you know, they're not, some people are lucky enough to have a spring fed kind of a pond, but most of them are what we call watershed ponds. In other words, the water that fills them up comes from the surrounded terrain, what we call the watershed. And so we have got a workshop that we're really excited about. We've done this once or twice before and had really good turnout, a lot of good information. But and we are going. The workshop is actually specifically designed for those small recreational fish pond owners, not lake managers or you know, or large body water type managers, but the small recreational fish ponds. But well, I want to talk real quickly just a couple of things that I get questions about. We'll also be covering all this and more too at the workshop, and I'll tell you more about how to get involved with the workshop here in just a second. But everybody always asks me, the number one question I get after we talk about the weeds that are in my pond is, what do I need to test the water for? And you know, and all about water tests. And so we're all familiar with an oxygen test designed. We measure the oxygen in the water. And this is typically done only in the commercial, like the catfish industry, if you're growing catfish in ponds for a living. And the reason is, in our recreational fish pond, oxygen level during the day changes basically hour to hour, from morning to afternoon to evening and through the night. It's constantly changing. So we don't really measure oxygen per se, unless there is the problem, and even then, by the time there's a fish kill, we suspect there's an oxygen problem. we call somebody, we come and get the water test. It's probably rebounding and over with by then anyway. But there are certain tests that we actually do perform on home recreational fish ponds, and really there's 3 of them.
Okay.
Number 1 is a pH. Okay. We measure pH in our pond water, just like, and of course pH is a measure of how acidic or how alkaline the water is. Very similar to what we would test the pH in our flower beds or our front yard, or pastures and hay fields or crops. And so again, pH is one of those kind of measures that varies quite a bit depending on certain things. How much sunshine are we getting? What time of the day is it? And various other things, that are going on. But generally a home fish pond will be on a pH-wise somewhere between 5.5 up to 9. So it varies quite a bit during the day. If we start to get over 9, if we get in those 9.5, 10 pH ranges, we've probably got some problem that we need to address. Generally, that has to do with the vegetation that's growing in the pond, algae problems, for example. If by the same token, if we get below that 5.5 or so range, if we get more acidic than that, we've probably got some issue with either acid runoff or we're picking up a lot of extra sulfur out of the soil. But anything out of that range, out of the 5.5 to about 9 range, is very stressful for the fish. They won't grow as well. They just don't perform well. So that tells us we need to do something to address that. So pH is one of the things that we measure. The second thing that we measure is what we call total alkalinity, and that is somewhat related to pH, but it's a little bit of a different measure. Total alkalinity, in layman's terms, it chemically measures the buffering capacity of a pond when something goes wrong. We like to see a total alkalinity of 20 parts per million, 20 or higher in our fish ponds. And so a lot of times when we do weed control, specifically with filamentous algae, when we have a problem, of course the treatment is generally copper sulfate. But copper sulfate at a very low alkalinity pond is absolutely deadly to fish. Okay, you will probably kill more fish than you kill algae in a case like that. So before we recommend that, the first thing I'm going to have you do, if you talk to me about an algae problem and we talk about copper sulfate, I'm going to have you to run an alkalinity test. And I would really prefer to see 30 or higher to give your pond some buffer capacity. If that number is low, we combine that with a low pH. That tells us, basically that tells us we need to add lime to the pond.
Right.
Okay. And lime is one of the things we often forget with fish ponds, and it's very, very important because of those two things, the pH and the alkalinity. Both are improved by adding lime to the fish pond. And fact is, if you are low alkalinity, you're on the low side of pH, it really doesn't do much good to even talk about fertilizing a fish pond. Okay, so we've got to get that corrected first. The third test that we sometimes recommend on a home fish pond is very similar to what you would run in your home swimming pool or what it is. It's a hardness test.
Right.
And basically hardness, all it does is measure the dissolved mineral content of that water, specifically calcium and magnesium. Okay, and so we do measure that because those are also important, because calcium and magnesium are elements that help also to buffer that fish pond if something goes wrong, and they're useful for many other things. It helps the planktonic algae, which are the food source, the beginning of the food chain in that pond. If you don't have good planktonic algae growth in there, your fish are not going to be as growthy and as healthy. So those three tests, a pH, an alkalinity, and a hardness test, are really all we ever run on a home fish pond.
Do you have to have a different instrument to do this with?
Usually you can get those actually in a home kit, very similar to what you would use for your swimming pool,
Yeah.
your
Same kind.
Same deal. And there are some very good ones out there that you can get, very easy to use. They're step-by-step directions, and so we do run those things. Now, the next thing that I get questions about is fertilization. Okay, how and when and why, do I even need to fertilize a fish pond? And so, one of the very simple tests that I do, and this is one of those really high tech kind of things. That if you want to pass yourself off as being really high tech and very knowledgeable, tell them we're going to use a Secchi disc to measure the productivity of my fish pond. And actually, what we're talking about with a Secchi disc is basically a yardstick with inch increments already labeled on there. If you want to, you can use this is a 1x2. And you can actually mount a yardstick on there, or you can do like I did and use a permanent marker and just mark them on there. The base, and I call this a Secchi disc. I should probably call this a Secchi square because I made mine with a square piece of wood. But you need just make it checker box, with 2 white and 2 black sections on there. And so what you do is you simply submerge the Secchi disc into your pond off of a deck or off a pier or a deck, or even off the side of your boat, if your pond's big enough for a boat, and you measure what level in my pond does the white part of the Secchi disc disappear. Okay. It basically tells us how clear or how green the water is. So if we're clear all the way down to about 24 inches or so, and we can clearly see those white parts of the Secchi disc, then that tells us this water is too clear. We don't have that planktonic algae that makes the food source. So some fertilizer, or at least we need to find out why. It may be an extremely low pH. So we look at those other tests we just talked about. It may be a simple matter of we need to add some fertilizer to it. By converse, if this Secchi disc disappears at 12 to 15 inches, very shallow, that tells us we've probably got an abundance of an algae bloom in there. So we need to back off and not fertilize, because too much of that kind of algae growth can be just as bad as not enough. And we're going to talk very much detail about all of those at our fish pond workshop, but that's generally how it goes. And for most people, most home fish pond owners, fertilization is not really necessary. If you start adding fertilizer into the mix, then that really increases the amount of management that we have to do. We have to more closely monitor the fish populations. And most of us, treat our home recreational fish ponds as we'll go down there every once in a while when we feel like it, and we'll catch it and throw them back, and we'll catch and release, and then it may be 2 or 3 months before we go fish it again. And in those kind of cases, it's very rare that you would even need to fertilize a fish pond, because you don't need that extra productivity in the pond. Now, if you're fishing it quite heavily and you're keeping fish out of there and those kind of things, then we may need to take a look at that. So we're going to talk about all of those issues. We're going to talk about when to fertilize, how to fertilize, kinds of fertilizer to use, how do we lime the fish pond. We're going to talk about all those tests. We're going to talk about weed control, stocking, what species do we need to put in there, what species do we not need to put in there, many other things. And so that workshop is going to be on Friday, May the 1st.
Yes.
We're right here. That'll be next Friday.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we've already got about 15 or so already registered in, and so we're expecting a pretty good crowd out there. It'll be over in the Double Springs area, very close to Double Springs High School. And the way that works, because we're doing it on a private property, once we get the registration in, then we will send the specific location and address out to those who have registered. So you need to get registered, and you can do that by calling either our office at, if you're from the Walker County side, 205-221-3392, or if you're on the side of our good friends to the north, what I call Walker County North, and over in Winston County, then you can call the Double Springs office over there and get registered in for that. They can help walk you through it, or they can send you a QR code, and even my 4-H kids know how to do that. I don't, but my 4-H kids do. We can send you a QR code that all you got to do is point your camera your phone, your camera on your phone right at the thing, and it takes you straight to the registration side, and you can do it that way.
All right, tell us how to get with you.
Yeah, there's with the workshop, there is a $25 registration fee, and it does include lunch. We're going to be serving lunch with the thing. So you can reach us at the Walker County office at 205-221-3392, or you can reach us on that big old World Wide Web, www.aces, that's ACES.edu. Or those of you that do Facebook, reach out to us on our Facebook page and follow that, because we put all of our information out for workshops and meetings and timely information things out all the time on our Facebook page. So.
All right, Danny, thanks so much.
Appreciate you having us. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come right back with more Coffee Time.